Hi, my name is Father James Hudgens, and I'm the pastor of St. Jude Church in Fredericksburg. Out on the Sea of Galilee, the time for catching fish is at night. If you haven't caught anything by morning, it's time to pack up the nets and go home, which is exactly what St. Peter's doing in the gospel this week when Jesus calls him to something higher. Put out into the deep, the Lord says, and lower your nets for a catch, which makes no sense to St. Peter because the best fishing was close to the shore. And who is this rabbi to tell the fishermen how to catch a fish? But St. Peter sets his ego aside and gives the Lord his trust by some intuition, by some invisible grace. And you know what happens next? Nets strained to the breaking point, the catch beyond anything he could have imagined. Peter knows he's in the presence of no ordinary teacher. This man controls the forces of nature. Overcome with reverence and probably shame for ever having doubted, he says, "Depart from me, Lord. I'm a sinful man." Trusting in the Lord always feels like a risk, but nothing in this world could be more certain. There was a cardinal in Vietnam. His name was Cardinal Nguyen Van Thuan, and he was imprisoned by the communists for 13 years. At first, he despaired of his imprisonment, but then he began to trust. God had his purposes. And they transferred him to camp, and then suddenly, with no explanation, they released him from prison and exiled him from the country. And he only learned the reason later. His mere presence in each prison inspired all the other prisoners with the faith and spoiled all their communist re-education efforts. You know, there's some things you will never accomplish by your own strength. There are some things only God can do. Things like changing lives and touching souls and moving stubborn hearts. But when we cooperate, God does act, even through weak human instruments. So here's your challenge for the week. Put out into the deep water. Take your deepest concern to prayer. Look up at the crucifix and say these words 10 times. Jesus, I trust in you. Pray it and mean it. I've always found peace in those words. Never let what you can't do get in the way of doing what good you can. And may God, who's begun the good work in you, bring it to fulfillment. Hey, don't forget to subscribe to 2 Minutes to Virtue.